So I'm going to disappoint you right now. This is not an unboxing video. This is more of a financial Hail Mary pass that I'm sure is going to flop. You've seen me in past unboxing videos. One of the things I always mention is the fact that I don't do comps. So in other words, there are lots of unboxers out there who, whatever they're unboxing, it's sent to them as a promo by the provider. So they'll be an influencer. I've always said from the very beginning that I don't do that. I pay for the boxes I unbox because, I don't want that. I don't want that influence hanging over my head. Hey, you didn't give us a good unboxing. We sent you free stuff. Oh, sorry, I'll make you look good next time. I want you to see if a box is shit, I'm going to say it's shit, and have no shame if Spreza or Birch is mad at me because I paid him for a shitty box. So I say that up front because I've recently found myself caught up in the financial undertow of my student loans, and I'm reaching the point where I'm hitting that perfect storm of desperation and exhaustion, and my health is going to give. That's where we are on this. My health is going to give, and the question is going to be, can I focus on the bills long enough to get the financial aid paid off, or am I going to wind up fucking dead because the whole exhaustion thing? So to give you some backstory, I kind of dropped little hints just in the banter and unboxing videos. I don't hide the fact that I'm an academic. I am a middle manager, program director for a community college in North Carolina. What I do is I oversee the programs, I work with the instructors, I work with students, I work with an advisory committee to make sure that the degree program is on track and aligns with what employers are actually expecting. If my 8th grade guidance counselor had his way back in 1986, I would not be here right now, or at least I would not be at this job. I would be at my second job. My second job, I don't necessarily want to say the name, although I did want to film this coming off of work, so you can see the other me. I work for a pizza franchise that's quickly expanding across the United States. So I do my academic job Monday through Friday. I do the pizza job Saturday and Sunday. That means that I don't get days off. And I say that because had my 8th grade guidance counselor had his way, this would be my 24/7 existence. Basically, when I was at the end of 8th grade, getting ready to go into 9th grade, he made the decision. He said, "Well, Matt, you're a C and D student. You're not very smart. We don't see it in your grades. You're really not college material. So we're going to put you in the vocational track." And back in the 80s, this was even 80s vocational. The 60s vocational was actually a viable career track. Even in the early 70s, and I'm saying this is an academic who studied it, and we'll get to there. Even in the 70s, vocational was somewhat viable. You were actually taught marketable skills. By the 80s, you were put in a room and it's like, don't get anybody's fucking hair. Take a business course, take a typing class, take a computer class, stay out from the college prep kids' feet, stay out from administration's feet. We'll get you a high school diploma and you can graduate and move on. There was no future viability. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and when my counselors sent me on that course, The insinuation was I would graduate, I would get a job at GM in one of the plants, and I would be a factory worker for the rest of my life. And that kind of came to pass in a roundabout way in Orlando in the late 90s, although um, I had always been told when I was a kid, my father, so my mother and father were first generation college students. Mom did not have any kind of academic upbringing. Dad didn't have any kind of academic upbringing. They both kind of stumbled into higher education and stumbled their way through, and in both cases stumbled out of with degrees. I talk in my personal blogging about the concept of a ivory collar academic. The ivory collar academic, this is the family that's had a presence in higher education for multiple generations. They know the rules, the visible and the invisible rules. They know the coping mechanisms. They know the strategies. They know how to adapt, and they can pass that on to their kids. Their kids are groomed to go on to higher education. My parents weren't. My mother's parents were what we would call rural. Gran worked for the Bell System as an operator, and my grandfather, I believe, was a salesman when he came back from World War II. On my father's side, my grandmother didn't work. My grandfather operated a Sunoco station in Burton, Michigan. So, my guidance counselor was kind of right. I was not college material. Neither of my parents really did a good job to groom me or train me for college, or hell, even groom me and train me in the ways of just kind of growing up in a white collar or an ivory collar family. I make the joke, I am blue collar, I am working class, and I say that with no shame. It doesn't mean that I'm going to run around with a fucking red racist cap on, but that is my world. If you watch the old Roseanne sitcom, that was my world growing up. But I had my parents both telling me, well, yeah, you're going to go to college. You're going to go to college. So here's this 8th grade guidance counselor who's telling me, well, we're putting you on the vocational track. So that for me, I think if you've watched the videos enough, I'm a stubborn and tenacious motherfucker, and sometimes the best way to motivate me is to tell me no. Doesn't always mean that I'm going to be successful, but it means that just to spite someone, I'm going to dig in, and if that means that I'm going to go down dying trying to make something happen, then that means that I'm going to go down dying. And that was what I did. My 9th grade year in high school, I struggled. I had to transfer to another school where I wasn't tracked. Again, this is in the 80s. They were called tracking. You were put in certain tracks, and this is very much stay in your lane. So once you put me in the vocational track, I couldn't move over to college prep because I missed all of those foundational classes in 9th grade. I had to go to another high school where I wasn't tracked, and I actually had an opportunity to move out of that. Somehow I graduated high school. Somehow I got accepted to Florida State University. To this day, I think the only reason they accepted me was they didn't know that my parents had joint custody. My mom at that point in time lived in Florida, had half custody. My father, where I was up in Michigan, had half custody. I think when I applied to Florida State, I said that I'd be paying cash because my father and mother said they would cover it, although we can talk about that mess later. I think they thought they were going to get easy out-of-state tuition. Then as soon as I was accepted, I put my residency change in form. But somehow I got in, and somehow I graduated. And again, I struggled like fuck. College was not easy. I made it out with like a 2 point something. I tried multiple programs and just could not succeed. I got out with an English degree, which is kind of the standard. We'll give you something. You were here, pat, pat, pat on the head. And then I went down to Orlando. The original plan was I was going to study computer science, and then I took a course called Discrete Mathematics, which did some impromptu career counseling. So I was there in Orlando. I was stuck there. and I decided that I was going to pursue graduate school. I did well in my English classes. I found my voice as a writer, um, and decided that was going to be my thing. And again, graduate school, my first grad degree, that was 7 years. I quite literally graduated the semester before all of my early credits would begin expiring, and then I'd be back stuck in that hole. I stretched that out right to the logical end limit of that degree program. I wanted to teach. I decided at that point in time that I had a guidance counselor who was very willing to throw my life away because he did not think that I was successful. He had known me at that point in time for 2 years. 7th and 8th grade, I was in that school. My 6th grade, I was moving around Michigan to Florida, Florida to Michigan. He was willing to throw me away for 2 years. My whole future, my whole everything. That was the whole reason why I was there. It's like, I'm not only going to go to college, but I'm going to get the highest degree that I can to simply show you I'm not stupid. And, again, that's blue collar working class. You don't tell a fucking grunt what they can and can't do. That's the best way to motivate them to do something for you. So I was going to teach. And when I got out with a master's degree, I began interviewing public schools around the Central Florida area. And they're like, well, Matt, you've got a really impressive vita. You've got the master's degree. You've done your research on an interesting topic. Have you ever taught high school? And it's like, well, I've done graduate teaching for the last 2 years. Have you ever taught high school? And again, no. So I went back to graduate school. I was off for about 3 weeks between graduating with the first one and starting the second one. And the second one, I just plowed through. 18 credit hours in the fall of 2003, 18 credit hours in the spring of 2004, wrote and defended a thesis in the summer of 2004, and I was done. And I found a job. Again, you have to be very careful about what I say and how I say, because everybody has bigger, better lawyers than I do. So I got a job teaching in the Central Florida area. And at that point in time, the second master's degree, a lot of the education professors were like, well, Matt, have you ever thought about getting a doctorate? And I had said at the very beginning, it's like, not only am I going to go to college, I'm going to get the highest degree that I can, just despite that one guidance counselor. And it's like, the dude's been dead since 2017. I have an old girlfriend who's become an exceptional friend, and she's I love her to death. She's caught up in the whole high school nostalgia. She did some running around and discovered that he died in 2017. So it's like I don't even get the victory of sending him the business card or the graduation announcement. But in graduate school, the second master's degree, they're like, well, have you ever thought about getting a doctorate? And I was like, fuck, Dr. Henry, that's what I've always wanted. Wasn't the field that I planned on it, but yeah, sure. So I applied. I struggled through the GRE. I struggled through the interviews, and I got admitted. And I began pursuing the doctorate, in addition to working my full-time public school teaching job. So there was a situation in 2006. This was also when I was a lot younger and didn't quite realize that, in this video you've seen me saying, I really don't want to give their names, because back when I was in my 30s and, I was like super proud. I was like, hey, the dumb person did this. Look, the dumb person did this. I was pretty open about what I did and where I worked. And on the old blog LiveJournal, I don't hide the fact that I'm a furry. I've been in furry fandom since 1994. The problem is furry fandom is a haven for toxic, malicious individuals. And in this case, there was one of these toxic, malicious individuals who knew that I was a public school teacher, and he made some jokes on the blog that I was grooming my students because, again, I've been out since 1991. So, he made jokes that I was grooming my students. Those were screen capped and sent to administration, and I was given a choice. It's like, well, you can put your resignation in, and you're done, you're gone, or we can take this to the school board and we can fire you. And oh, by the way, if we take it to the school board and we can fire you, it becomes a part of the public record. Anytime someone searches for you, they're gonna see this. So why don't you just think about this? Now, at that point in time, this is late 2006. I was a year plus into my doctoral program. I was like deeply committed. Doc programs, it's like, undergraduates, you can stop at the 2-year with an AA. You can stop at the 4-year with a BA. With a doctorate, it's like it's all or nothing. With the EDD, if you can get all the way through to the end and you can't get a dissertation done, you can walk out with an EDS, an educational specialist, which is kind of like the booby prize for all your hard work. I wasn't even there. I still had at least 2 years of work to do before I could at least get the booby prize. So I was in an awkward position. I had two choices. Either I drop out and I leave Orlando and I hope that my Michigan family would have somewhere for me to go and stay, or I somehow find a way to stay in Orlando. And 2006, this is when we were everything was beginning to swirl for the Great Recession. People weren't hiring as much. I was able to find a job as an adjunct instructor, and that was not really my bread and butter, or my scraps that at least kept me going. In addition to what I had saved, my payout from the public school teaching job, what I had put into my retirement plan, that kind of kept me going until I realized I was eligible for federal student loans. And this brings us where we are. Point blank. My father couldn't help me. At that point in time, Dad had his own financial issues that I would learn about a few years later. He's like, well, I really can't help. I really can't help. When I asked if I could move back, it's like, yeah, no, don't want you moving back in. You're in your 30s. You're supposed to be gone. I asked my mom for help. And my mom was the exact same way. Well, I really don't have any money right now. She was in a stable marriage at the time and could have, but didn't. And that's, again, another video and one of the reasons why I'm in therapy right now. So I took out student loans. And student loans supplemented my adjunct income until I got through a majority of the work. And again, I'm not an academic by nature. I struggled like fuck in my doctoral program. My family thought, well, oh, you're the smart one. You're the smart one. When I was in elementary school, you're in the gifted classes. You're in the accelerated classes. You're the smart one. You knew how to read at 5 years old. Yeah, that didn't mean shit. I fought and struggled to get through my doctoral classes. Somehow I made it through the classes. I had to take a couple twice to get through them, but I did it. I took my comprehensive exams. I took my qualifying exams. And in the summer of 2009, two things happened. I finally converted to candidate. I had done all the stuff. I'd finished my qualifying exams, passed my qualifying exams, but the Great Recession had also hit. And when the Great Recession hit, they weren't hiring adjuncts anymore. Again, remember the Great Recession started in fall of 2008, spring 2008, summer 2009. The budgets were coming down, and it's like, we don't have money for adjuncts, and all my contracts fell out from underneath me. The university would not give me any assistance because my research area was higher education, and they wanted people who were doing K-12. Apparently K-12 versus higher education. Somehow you teach Vygotsky and the zone of proximal development in two very different ways. I don't know. Vygotsky, Piaget, they're all the same regardless of your background, but apparently, well, we really want a K-12 teacher. So to make a long story short, I was also running out of federal student loan time. I was kind of reaching the point where the federal's like, yeah, we don't think we can really give you any more. The college like, yeah, we can't really give you any more. And oh, by the way, we can't give you a graduate teaching or graduate research position. The best they could do for me was a GRA position that was paying me $10 an hour, 20 hours a week, no benefits, no benefits at zero. Like they wouldn't even cover my tuition. So basically $800 a month, and at that point in time, the rent on my apartment was $660. So I had a friend of mine in Raleigh who has since become my husband. He's like, listen, I see you're kind of struggling. If you want to come up to Raleigh, you can crash with me, and I think I may have a lead on a job. The job didn't happen, but that's kind of how I wound up where I am. I still fought my way through and tried to produce the dissertation from afar. So I went to talk to my dissertation director in the summer of 2009, and I laid all my cards out. It's like, listen, the community colleges aren't hiring adjuncts anymore. The university won't give me any kind of employment. You say you can do nothing to help me. I got to take this offer from my buddy in Raleigh and move up north. And the comment he made was, you mean to say we got you this far and you're dropping out? It's like, dude, I'm not dropping out. If y'all would fucking let me take care of myself, give me an income to take care of myself, I can stay here. So I moved to Raleigh, and the agreement was I would work on the dissertation as a distance student. Now, this is 2009. Back then, distance education was basically, you're taking a correspondence course. Fuck, man, I can say this. This is my new research area. I had 4 people on my committee. I had Dr. Newly Minted, PhD. Every time I would send something out, his response was always, well, I just got my PhD. This is my first time on a dissertation. I'll defer to the committee. I had Doctor About to Retire. I've done these for so long. I really just want to sign off on this and get a little more professional activity. I'll defer to the committee. I had Dr. Just On because he was available. There was one person in the department who was available. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll sit on your committee. Surprise, surprise. I'd send out a prospectus or anything. Well, I'm going to defer to what the committee thinks on this. And then I had my chair. Mr., we got you this far and you're leaving us. Who made it seem like it was great labor. I was the one who was busting my asses, sometimes retaking the classes, sometimes struggling not getting it, but somehow he made it seem like he did all. We got you this far. Like, what'd you do? Fucking carry me? Because I don't remember that in any of my classes, dude. So, needless to say, the dissertation didn't happen. It took 2 years. If you're familiar with academic culture, it took 2 years to just get a prospectus. Because every time I would type up a prospectus, and again, I had to do the whole 10, 15, 20-page document. I couldn't just say, here's my topic. No, we can't do that. Type up a prospectus. So I had to go out and research and type it up and send it out to them. And then wait, weeks, months. Well, we have this conference that we're at right now. We have this conference that we're getting ready for right now. We'll look at it and we'll let you know. So I just ran out. My credits began to expire. And at that point in time, the timer started on my student loans. Once you're done, you enter this kind of safe harbor, safe haven area. So I began to go into that area. And at this point in time, it's like I knew that I wanted the doctorate. I knew that was like, this has to be done. It's like I did not come this far to fail. Washing out of the university EDD, yeah, that was a huge setback, man. That was like borderline suicide depression, just didn't function for about 2 years, which was a good thing because that was also when my previous employer laid me off. So I was just kind of in a great position where I could sit around and do nothing. And then I kind of realized it's like, okay, I'm going to rebuild myself. So I began to regroom and rebuild my curriculum vitae and pursue a third master's degree. That was where I started the master's degree at NC State. If you look back in early 2007, like February, March, April, May 2007, you probably saw me mention graduate school. That was my third master's degree, and that was the plan. Take that master's, rebuild my vita, apply for a doctorate, and eventually in my 50s, settle this grand quest that I started when I was 13 years old. So that took the timer on my student loans and put them back in abeyance. That's the word I'm thinking of, abeyance. Then when I graduated, abeyance canceled and the student loans cashed in. And I had this just moment of colossal panic. At that point in time, the loans were like $100,000 because they were these loans and this loan. They were just all over the damn place. If you look at those documentaries on student loans, my former college, they were one of those. It's like, oh yeah, we have all these different loan products that we can give you. So I consolidated everything down, and in the last year and a half now, I've been every month. I get my paycheck, I subtract the bills that I owe, and whatever I have is left goes straight towards the student loans. But I'm reaching a point where even with the second job, I can't keep up. It's like being caught in an undertow. I lived in Florida for 19 years, never had a lot of opportunity to go out to the beaches because I was always working one job or another. But they always talk about the idea of the undertow. When you're swimming in the ocean, the undertow pulls you down. That's kind of where I am right now with my student loans. I'm at about $76,000 between the subsidized and the unsubsidized, I think. And again, a decade and a half later, I've asked the family for help, and the family's just like, no. My father legitimately can. Dad has since retired, and he's had his own financial cataclysm. Other family members just won't. Like I've asked for help. One family member said, "Oh, just treat it like a mortgage. If you treat it like a mortgage, really, because it's really that fucking simple. It's like a noose around my neck. I'm fucking drowning. I'm getting pulled under. But hey, just treat it like a mortgage." So 28 minutes in, this went way longer than I thought. You can imagine the hell of being my therapist. I am asking for help. I've had this channel going for 6+ years now. I'm not going to pull support. I'm not going to do one of these dick moves. It's like, if you don't help me, I'm not going to make any more videos. That's stupid douchebaggery. Because if anything else, poor people need hobbies too. And I've at least got the unboxing. If you can see it in yourself to help somehow, don't get me wrong. Forwarding the video is great. I'm all about spreading my misery. If you can make some kind of a donation, I've got a GoFundMe up right now. I'm almost getting to the point. I think I may start a Facebook campaign too, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people have either unfollowed me on social media or they've unfollowed GoFundMe. It's kind of like, sorry, my poverty is an inconvenience for you. Would you like to see more dick pics then? I'm fucking dying here. And when I say I'm fucking dying, I don't mean that in metaphor. I mean that as in my health is at the red line right now. I've noticed when I come home from work, I'm drinking a lot more. I've noticed that because I'm on my feet between one job or the other. Where are we? I'm using these a lot more when I need to get to bed. Sometimes I'm in so much pain from walking around, from moving around, from crouching. Sometimes the only thing I can do is just like drop a hydrocodone, and I know when I do that, man, I'm playing with fucking fire, because if I take too many, I get addicted, and that's the one thing that we know. Especially me here in the South, it's like I could be the face. I could be the face of narcotic addiction that you hear about and all those damn news reports. My health can't endure this for like the next 5 years to pay the student loans off. So I'm fuck, man, I'm cyber begging, and I'll use the phrase begging. Any help you can give. I'm not expecting $76,000 to come from the internet. I get that. That's hyper unrealistic, but I also want you to understand the degree of debt that I live with. So there we go. 31 minutes. I'm done. I'm tapping out. I appreciate all y'all who have been watching stuff on the channel. I appreciate all y'all who have been leaving comments and stuff like that. This is the point when I ask you for help. Again, I'm going to keep doing unboxings as long as I'm alive, until the day when I'm assuming it's probably going to be a heart attack, realistically speaking, until the day that my heart gives out and I can't make the videos anymore. I'm still going to keep making videos, but if y'all can help me get this goddamn loan at least kind of squared away, I would genuinely appreciate it. Thank you.